Can power be a curse? Can the blood that flowed through the veins of rulers of half the world carry within it the seed of their own destruction? Welcome to the mysterious world of the House of Habsburg, whose history is not just a chronicle of conquests and intrigues, but perhaps an ancient drama, written in invisible ink on the parchment of fate. This is a story about how a family secret can overturn our understanding of power, heredity, and the very nature of human existence. Our journey begins in the grand halls where decisions were made that changed the map of Europe. Let others wage war, you, happy Austria, marry. This principle became the Habsburg motto. Strategic marital alliances made them Holy Roman emperors, kings of Spain, rulers of the Netherlands and the New World. Their dominion stretched from the sunny plains of Hungary to the opulent palaces in Vienna and Madrid. But it was within this very flourishing that the first hint of future tragedy lay hidden. Seclusion, pride, and a mania for bloodline purity led the dynasty to marry exclusively among close relatives. Uncles married their nieces, cousins married cousins. The most striking example of this fatal practice was Charles II of Spain, the last monarch of the Spanish Habsburg line. His portrait speaks for itself: an elongated jaw, a large head, a severely protruding lower lip, the classic signs of genetic degeneration. Analyzing his family tree, geneticists state with horror, Charles's coefficient of inbreeding was higher than if he were the child of a brother and sister. He could not have children, suffered from hallucinations and epilepsy. His death in 1700 left behind a power vacuum that led to the War of the Spanish Succession, and the Spanish Habsburg Empire ceased to exist. But was it just genetics? Can all the misfortunes be explained by biology alone? Legends speak of something else. One of them takes us back to the 12th century, to the founder of the dynasty, Count Radbot, who built the Habsburg, the Hawk's Castle. The tale claims he expelled a monk from his lands, who, before his death, cursed the entire House of Habsburg, prophesying that their power would be brought to nothing through their own blood. Another, more mystical version, mentions an artifact, a jade seal, allegedly obtained by an unknown Habsburg during the Crusades in the Holy Land. The seal, supposedly, granted power but took away the health and happiness of descendants. This is where the realm of conspiracy and alternative hypotheses begins. Some researchers suggest that the curse was merely a convenient fabrication, a scenario carefully developed by the Habsburgs themselves. Why? To hide real conspiracies and political assassinations. The sudden death of the powerful Emperor Maximilian I? A hunting accident. The demise of a young heir? An unexplained illness. What if these were planned acts of removal, covered by the myth of an inexorable fate? Perhaps the curse was the perfect tool of control, one that frightened enemies and cast the Habsburgs themselves as victims of a higher power, not their own mistakes. Another theory turns to symbolism. The dynasty possessed one of the most important relics of the Christian world, the Holy Lance, which, according to legend, was used to pierce the side of Jesus. The legend states that whoever possesses it holds the destiny of the world in their hands. But at what price? Was this relic not a source of strength, but a lever that activated some unknown law of karma, according to which excessive power must be paid for with excessive suffering? Analyzing these facts, it's hard to dismiss a sense of pattern. The history of the Habsburgs reminds us of the principle of equilibrium. They achieved absolute power but lost genetic diversity. They built empires, but their own family degenerated. This raises deep philosophical questions. Is power over others a compensation for internal weakness? Is there a limit that cannot be crossed in the pursuit of might, even if that limit is one's own family blood? The curse of the Habsburgs, regardless of whether it was a real genetic phenomenon or a powerful social myth, serves as an eternal lesson. It shows that the most unbreakable walls can be built from within. That the greatest threat to any empire, any family, any system of power lies not in external enemies, but in its own isolation, ego, and refusal to renew itself. The fate of the Habsburgs is a mirror in which we can see a reflection of our own societies closing in on themselves. It is a story about how, when you stop letting new blood and new ideas into your life, when you begin to believe in your own exceptionalism, you sign your own sentence. And in this sense, the Habsburg curse is still alive today, reminding us of the eternal price of grandeur and the danger of closed circles. The echoes of this curse did not fade with the end of the monarchy. The most shocking and controversial theory connects the Habsburg legacy to the spark that ignited World War I, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo. He was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. Conspiracy theorists point to a series of bizarre, almost supernatural, coincidences. The Archduke's car took a wrong turn, stalling directly in front of his assassin, Gavrilo Princip, who had earlier given up hope. It was a perfect storm of fate. But was it just fate? Some speculate that secret societies, aware of the ancient curse, manipulated events to ensure the prophecy was fulfilled, using the assassination as a tool to trigger the final collapse of the dynasty and the empire it held together. His death was the catalyst that plunged the world into a war from which the Habsburg monarchy would never recover. This leads us to a darker, more profound question: what if the curse wasn't about blood at all, but about an idea? The idea of absolute, divinely sanctioned power. The Habsburgs believed they were destined by God to rule. This unwavering belief created a system resistant to change, to modernization, to the very currents of democracy and nationalism that defined the modern world. In this light, the curse was the inevitable collision between an archaic system and the unstoppable force of history. The genetic decay was merely a physical manifestation of this deeper, ideological stagnation. They were cursed not by a monk's words or a magical artifact, but by their own anachronistic worldview, a prison of their own making. So, what does the ghost of the Habsburgs whisper to us from the pages of history? It is a timeless warning about the fragility of power and the danger of isolation. It teaches us that no dynasty, no corporation, no nation, no matter how powerful, is immune to the rot that sets in from within. When a system values purity over new ideas, tradition over adaptation, and self-preservation over evolution, it signs its own death warrant. The Habsburgs, in their quest for eternal rule, became a perfect museum of their own decline. Their story is a haunting reminder that the greatest threats are often not the armies at our gates, but the silent, invisible curses we nurture in our own bloodlines, our own boardrooms, and our own hearts. And so, their palaces now stand as museums, their thrones empty. But the question remains, lingering in the silent halls: was it a curse of blood, or a curse of power itself? Perhaps the true haunting is not in their story's end, but in the uncomfortable mirror it holds up to us all. The echo of their downfall is a whisper in the ear of every powerful institution, a reminder that the greatest empire can fall from within. The curse was not in their blood, but in the refusal to let new life enter it. And in that, their story is forever unfinished, a warning passed down through the centuries.